The Daisy. Now listen. In the country near the high road, there was a farmhouse. Perhaps you passed by and saw it yourself. There was a little flower garden with painted wooden fences in front of it. There was a ditch near. On its fresh green bank grew a little daisy. The sun shone as warmly and brightly upon it as on the magnificent garden flowers, and therefore it thrived well. One morning it was opened, and its little snow-white petals stood round the yellow center, like the rays of the sun. It did not mind that nobody saw it in the grass. On the contrary, it was quite happy and turned towards the sun, looking upward and listening to the song of the lark high up in the air. That day, the little daisy was very joyful. It enjoyed the day as a holiday. But actually it was only Monday. All the children were at school. While they were sitting on the forms and learning their lessons, it sat on its thin ground stalk and learned from the sun and from its surroundings. It said that the song of the little lark was so sweet. It filled the daisy with happiness. With respect, the daisy looked up to the bird that could fly and sing, but it did not feel envious. "I can see and hear," it thought. "The sun shines upon me, and the forest kisses me. How rich I am!" In the garden, many large and magnificent flowers grew. They had little fragrance, but they were very proud of themselves. They were all arrogant. The peonies puffed themselves up in order to be larger than the roses. But size is not everything. The tulips had the finest colors, and they knew it well too, for they were standing bolt upright like candles. They wanted everybody to see them better. In their pride, they did not see the little daisy. The daisy looked at them and thought, "How rich and beautiful they are! I'm sure the pretty bird will fly down and call them. Thank God that I stand so near and can see all the splendor." And while the daisy was still thinking, the lark came flying down, crying, "Tweet!" But not to the peonies and tulip. No, into the grass to the poor daisy. Its joy was so great, the daisy was ashamed. It didn't know what to think. The little bird flew round it and sang, "The grass is beautifully soft, and you are a little lovely flower. You have a golden heart. Your silver dress is magnificent." The yellow center of the daisy indeed looked like gold. The little petals shone as brightly as silver. How happy the daisy was! The bird kissed the daisy with its beak and sang to it, and then rose again up to the blue sky. It took more than a quarter of an hour for the daisy to awake from this lovely dream. It pulled itself together. It was half ashamed, yet glad at heart. It looked over to the other flowers in the garden. Surely they witnessed its pleasure and the honor. They understood its joy. But the tulips stood much stiffer than ever. Their faces were pointed and red, because they were jealous of the daisy. The peonies were sulky, The little flower could very well see that they were ill at ease and pitied them sincerely. Shortly after this, a girl came into the garden with a large, sharp knife. She went to the tulips and began to cutting them off, one after another. "Oh!" sighed Daisy. "That's terrible! Now they're dead!" The girl carried the tulips away. The daisy was glad that it was outside and only a small flower. It felt very grateful. At sunset, it folded its petals and fell asleep, and dreamt all night of the sun and the little bird. On the following morning, when the flower once more opened its soft petals like little arms towards the air and the light, the daisy recognized the bird's voice. The lark was singing a sad song. Indeed, the poor bird had a good reason to be sad, for someone caught and put it into a cage near the open window. The bird was missing its free days. It remembered its flying over green cornfields. The poor lark was unhappy as a prisoner in a cage. The little daisy wanted to help it, but what could it do? Indeed, it was very difficult for such a small flower to help. It entirely forgot the beauty of everything around. It forgot the warmth of the sun. It forgot its beauty and happiness as well. Shortly, it forgot its joy of life. It only thought of the poor prisoner bird. But the daisy could do nothing. Then 2 little boys came out of the garden. One of them had a large sharp knife. They came straight towards the little daisy. It couldn't understand anything.
"Here is a fine piece of grass for the lark,"
said one of the boys. He began to cut out a square round the daisy. The daisy remained the center of the grass, but it was not on the ground anymore.
"Pluck the flower off,"
said the other boy, and the daisy trembled with fear. It didn't want to be out of the soil, because if it goes out of the soil, it will die.
"No, let it stay,"
said the other boy.
"It looks so pretty."
So the children put the daisy in a pot, and so it stayed, and they brought it into the lark's cage. The poor bird was crying for its liberty and beating its wings against the wires. The little daisy could not speak a word. It couldn't console the lark. So a day passed.
"I have no water,"
said the prisoner lark.
"There is none in the house, and they forgot to give me food and water. My throat is dry and burning. I feel a fire and ice within me, and the air is so dry and hot. Alas, I must die and say goodbye to the warm sunshine, the fresh green meadows, and all the beauty of the nature."
And it put its beak into the piece of grass to refresh itself a little. Then it noticed the little daisy and kissed the daisy with its beak and said,
"You must also fade in here, poor little flower. You and the piece of grass. You are everything to me now.
Each little blade of grass is a green tree for me. Each of your white petals is a fragrant flower. Alas, you only remind me of my lost freedom. I wish I could console the poor lark, thought the daisy. It could not move one of its leaves, but the fragrance of its delicate petals pleased the lark. Its fragrance was much stronger than ever. The bird noticed it. Although it was dying with thirst, it did not touch the flower. The evening came, and nobody appeared to bring the poor bird a drop of water. It opened its beautiful wings and cried with pain. A faint and mournful "tweet, tweet" was all it could say. Then it bent its little head towards the flower, and its heart was full of misery. The flower could not fold up its petals and sleep. It dropped sorrowfully. The boys only came the next morning. When they saw the dead bird, they began to cry bitterly, dug a nice grave for it, and put nice flowers around the grave. They placed the bird's body in a red box. They wished to bury it with prayers. While it was alive and sang, they forgot the lark and let it suffer. When it died, they suddenly began to realize its importance. Now they cried over it and covered it with flowers. They threw the daisy on a dusty highway. Nobody thought of the flower. Nobody knew how it was sorry for the bird.